All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Marathon Digital Holdings, stock ticker MARA. Marathon, as you probably know, is a Bitcoin miner. We cover Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners quite a bit on this channel. So if that's content that you're interested in, or if you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And of course, everybody, please smash the like button for us. Feel free to drop a comment below, and we do have a link in our pinned comment to our free Discord. So you're welcome to join us over there. We'd love to have you. All right, let's talk about Marathon. They put out a press release today for their March operational and Bitcoin mining. I'm going to go through that update, see how they did in March, see what they're projecting, and figure out where the stock goes from here. Okay, so this was yesterday, April 4th. Marathon Digital Holding announces Bitcoin production and mining operations update for March of 2022. So they say for March of 2022, but they mostly talk about the quarter in here. They do break down the month as well, so we'll talk about both. The company produced a record 1,259 Bitcoin in Q1 2022, up 556% year over year from Q1 of 2021. Now, I give almost no credence to the year over year inside of the Bitcoin mining space because most of these companies hadn't started mining or had just barely started mining, and Marathon fell into that category. They only mined a few Bitcoin last January. They had just started mining Bitcoin, so the year over year comparison is basically meaningless. I do this to all of the Bitcoin miners when they show the year over year, just because it's important to put it in its proper perspective. What I do like to look at is month over month, and that is a much better indication because this industry is growing very quickly. Everybody is gearing up with a lot of new machinery, adding exahash rate. So the month over month comparison is very meaningful. So we'll get to that. They then say up 15% sequentially from Q4 2021. However, that is only because there was an anomaly in the fourth quarter of 2021. In the month of November, Marathon had to shut down a significant number of their machines, and it cut their production into less than half of what it was in October. So had that been a normal month, Marathon actually would have mined more Bitcoin in the fourth quarter of 2021 than they did in the first quarter of 2022. And I only bring that up because there is absolutely no doubt Marathon is off to a slow start. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to finish strong. There's a lot. They have massive plans for the rest of the year, but the reality is they are in fact off to a slow start. Hash rate increased 14% from the prior quarter. Their hash rate is up. The difficulty level obviously is up as well, so they didn't quite keep up with the difficulty level, and their efficiency in mining is not quite where it needs to be yet. They have their own pool, their pool is small, and they have not gotten it to the point where they are being as efficient with their exahash rate as the other Bitcoin miners are. I expect that to improve over time as they grow their pool, and they're going to grow it considerably. They're looking to 6x their exahash over the next 12 months, so their pool is going to go from very small to large. So that should help even things out over time. So they have a graph here of where their exahash has been. These black numbers are actuals. These blue numbers are estimates in the future. They're at 3.9 exahash rate now. That was an actual for the month of March. Now, the next estimate they have is for the middle of 2022. Now, we're getting close to the middle of 2022. The first quarter is over. We just started the second quarter. So let's say over the next 3, 4, 5 months, they expect to get to 13.3 exahash. So they expect to add over 9 exahash in that period of time. The reason I think this is potentially very realistic, almost all of those machines are already delivered to Marathon. They are in possession of them, and they're just waiting to finish the facilities to install them in. So if they can get that piece of the puzzle on track, there is a reasonable chance that their exahash rate triples in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months. It may take a little longer than that. That's what remains to be seen. Then from there, they say by early 2023, they'll have 23.3 exahash fully deployed. That is all of the Bitcoin miners that they have ordered and have deposits on and contracts on to date. I believe there's 199,000 Bitcoin miners all told if they get everything fully deployed. Okay, let's get to the March numbers. Produced 436.1 self-mined Bitcoin during March 2022, a 21% increase from the 360.4 self-mined Bitcoin during February 2022. So there's your month over month. However, we do need to make an adjustment. The way I like to look at these miners and the way I think they should be looked at is Bitcoin per day. So unfortunately, the comparison between February and March isn't fair. March has 10% more days than February does. It has 3 extra days. So if we break that down to Bitcoin mined per day, in the month of February, they were doing about 12.8 Bitcoin per day, and that jumped up to just over 14 Bitcoin per day in the month of March. So they did have improvement month over month. Increased total Bitcoin holdings to approximately 9,376 with a fair market value of approximately $427 million. So Marathon has an extremely strong balance sheet. They did buy something like 4,800 of these Bitcoin over a year ago for somewhere around $31,000. So they are up on those, but those were not self-mined. So, they're getting to the point where they're pretty close to half and half self-mined versus the ones that they bought last January in 2021. Cash on hand of approximately $118 million. So again, this just goes to reinforce their balance sheet is very, very strong. They successfully deployed 1,320 miners in the month of March. So that did add 0.1 exahash. However, that was not at all their plan. However, they have well over 60,000 machines sitting and waiting to be installed. So they did get 1,320 of them in. They need to get those other 60,000 plus installed, in the time frame they're talking about. They're saying by mid 2022. So even if we gave them, the next 4 or 5 months, if they could get all those installed, then they're going to be where they want to be, and they're going to be producing significantly more Bitcoin than this. Potentially triple this amount of Bitcoin by, let's say, September of 2022. So they received approximately 5,600 S19 ASIC miners from Bitmain during the month of March. They already had well over 60,000 in storage. They were only able to deploy 1,300. So they continue to increase the amount that are sitting there waiting to be deployed. So, that's good news, bad news. You wish they were all up and running already, but at least they are there ready to go. So as soon as they can get their infrastructure finished, those will get plugged in. Existing mining fleet consists of 36,830 active miners producing approximately 3.9 exahash. So they were at 3.8 exahash last month. So there's your 0.1 exahash. They're mining about 1.2 Bitcoin more per day in March than they did in February. After receiving final permits and regulatory approval, miners are currently expected to be energized in the coming weeks and deployment accelerate throughout the rest of 2022. This is the most important statement we've talked about so far because, again, they have almost twice as many miners sitting in storage as they do up and running right now. Getting these permits and regulatory approvals done so that they can get these machines installed is critical for them. So they then conclude by saying the company continues to expect its mining operations to be 100% carbon neutral by the end of 2022. Marathon continues to expect all of its purchased miners to be deployed by early 2023, at which point the company's mining operations are expected to consist of approximately 199,000 Bitcoin miners producing approximately 23.3 exahash per second. So they say despite slight changes to the early deployment schedule, and so we know it's actually more than slight changes. It's been significant holdbacks so far. Now, if they catch up over the next 4 or 5 months, all will be as they want it to be. But that is a critical period because they are not slightly behind. Again, they have twice as many machines offline as they do online right now. So I'd like to compare Marathon and RIOT because they're sitting at almost the exact same hash rate. So interestingly, if we look at RIOT's February numbers, they mined 436 Bitcoin in February. That is the amount that Marathon mined in March. So again, remember there's 3 less days in February. RIOT was actually averaging about 15.5 Bitcoin per day, which is more than Marathon was doing in March. Marathon got themselves up to about 14 a day. So I expect once again for RIOT with the pretty much the exact same exahash rate, I expect them to beat Marathon fairly considerably in the number of Bitcoin mined. So this goes to my point that they're not yet being as efficient as the other miners are. Again, RIOT has not put their numbers out, but I'm estimating they're going to be somewhere at least 480, maybe 500 in the month of March. Any which way, it would be a gigantic surprise if it was less than the 436 in February. That would be a big step backwards for RIOT, and nobody expects that. I only bring that up with the comparison because they have relatively the same exahash rate, and Marathon actually has a higher market cap. And I think the reason for that is all these machines sitting on the sidelines are going to get plugged in. So you may think I'm bearish on Marathon, but actually, I believe they will get these machines plugged in, and they will grow their business considerably this year. Having said that, we'll take a few minutes and look at the chart and see where we may be going price-wise from here. All right, this is Marathon on the 1-day time frame. So each one of these candles represents 1 day. Marathon was up over $83 on November 9th, which was their all-time high, and that was the same day Bitcoin hit its all-time high. So right now, even after a nice run-up, and we'll show you what that is, they're still 65% off of their all-time high. And we know that at this point, they had less than 3 exahash, and they're looking to get to 13 exahash soon. So even though Bitcoin may be a little bit less than it was at its all-time high, Marathon expects to be about 4 times the size that it was in November, sometime in the next 3, 4, 5 months. So that is the time frame I'm looking at some of these price targets. If they get themselves up to 13.3 exahash, it would be reasonable to believe that they would take out their all-time high if Bitcoin remains reasonably healthy. I don't even think Bitcoin needs to take out its all-time high. As long as Bitcoin remains healthy and gets into the 50,000 range and stays there or above, I think that if Marathon can get these machines plugged in and start getting efficient with their Bitcoin mining, then they stand a very good chance of taking out this all-time high. So this is zoomed in a little. This is the Marathon chart on the 4-hour time frame, and I just want to show you a few reference points. This white line goes back to September 21st. So you'll see a note here. September 21st, Bitcoin was at $39,500. So we talked about the fact that they've run up off the bottom. So they're up almost 50% from their February 24th low. So that's a nice run up, but I do believe they're still way oversold, and the marketplace is waiting to see some of these results. But when and if they do, I do think they're going to take out all of these lines of resistance that I'm going to talk about. And again, please remember, this is not financial advice. This is my opinion. You guys need to do your own due diligence and spend your money your way. So please be careful investing. All right, the first price point I want to look at is this purple line. This purple line was December 27th. So on that same day, Bitcoin was at approximately 52,000. So we're at about 46,700 right now. So we're a little lower than that right now. But again, Marathon is growing in multitudes. So that would represent a 37% increase in the price if Marathon could get back to where it was on December 27th. The next price target is on December 3rd, which was the day of the flash crash. Once again, that would be a 69% increase in the price of their stock. So the last one I'll take a look at is if they could get all the way back to their all-time high. So that's 187% increase in their stock price, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. Again, this is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence and do your own risk-reward analysis. To me, I'm looking at these numbers, and this is where I think Marathon's going over the course of the next year. So that's all I've got for you on Marathon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please smash the like button. So thanks a lot, and we will see you in the next video.